All right, welcome. We have a very important update today with the Spirit of 76 team and 76 Pro Line. A Missouri Fireworks SB 81 bill. There's been some changes, so we have the team here with us to talk about what that means for you. So we have John Walker, who is the Vice President of Legal Affairs. We have Peter Rogos, which is the Vice President of 76 Pro Line. We also have Sam Princeton with us as well. We're here to break it down. We know that Missouri is a very fireworks friendly state. We know that it's a very robust retail market and a very big wholesale market as well. So we just want to make sure that we're talking about what these changes are, what it means for you. So first, I want to start with John Walker. Why don't you go through and talk about what these changes were to the bill?
Yeah, thank you, Kaylee. Yeah, I'll start off. And I guess the thing I start off by saying is that Missouri's fireworks legislation was actually made law in 1985. So it's been, what, 30 plus years since that we had any substantive changes to the Missouri law. And as we all know, in the fireworks industry, a lot has changed in the past 30 years. So first of all, I think that the big changes was our attempt to modernize Missouri law to bring it up to term or standard with the fireworks industry and the things that are taking place in the fireworks industry. That's probably number one. The second thing I guess I'd mention is that when a lot of states passed their fireworks legislation back in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of references to DOT classifications such as UN 0431, UN 0336, 1.4G, 1.3G. We always felt that was confusing from the aspect it really didn't define the firework type itself. So this legislation gets rid of all those references and go back to more of a narrative definition of what is a consumer firework, what is a articles pyrotechnic, what is a display firework. So that's a big change. We also wanted to make sure that the definitions were correct. Missouri has some definitions in the statute that didn't make a lot of sense. And for that matter, quite honestly, made it a little bit unclear as far as what the standards were in the state of Missouri for certain types of fireworks. So we were able to make those changes as well to the law to kind of get it a little bit more clear, a little less ambiguous, so that we really understood clearly what was expected of the people that live in Missouri, that do business in Missouri, and that actually ship to Missouri. And then I think finally the big change that we had to deal with was the fact that articles pyrotechnic has been a hot issue in the industry for the past probably 5 to 10 years, and Missouri's law didn't really address it very well. So leaning on what we've heard from industry, what we've heard from our customers, what we've heard from our competitors, we really felt that Missouri needed to take the forefront action and be the leader in defining what articles pyrotechnic are, what's needed to be able to buy and use those type of fireworks. So we were able to accomplish that in this bill.
Excellent. Now, when we're talking about those changes and kind of what it means, and there's a little bit of confusion out there. I wanted to bring in Sam. Sam, you've got a list of some questions from people, of some concerns. There's a lot of information out there, so we want to make sure we clear it up here. So, Sam, why don't you kind of go through some of those questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Walker, for giving kind of an overview of what those updates are going to be looking like. I also wanted to just kind of address, we know that we have such a robust retail and display company market and industry here in Missouri. It's an incredibly fireworks friendly state, and we wanted to keep it that way. As the Spirit of 76 team, I know that you guys have been, and the team has been very involved in the proposition of this legislation, engaging with the fire marshal, the state fire marshal, and a lot of the other companies and all the other firework businesses in the state, from retailers to distributors to display companies. So I wondered if we could get a little bit of a clarification on what Spirit's objectives were in updating Missouri's fireworks legislation.
Yeah, absolutely. I could take that as well. First, I guess I got to talk about the process. So this process started about 3.5 years ago, whenever the state fire marshal in Missouri indicated that they were wanting to look at changes to the law. So Peter and I started to get involved with a task group that worked with the state fire marshal to kind of go over the previous statute and look at some of the things that we wanted to change. within the context of the industry and the state fire marshal. So that was kind of the beginning of the process. And then last year in 2024, there was a bill that was introduced in Missouri for fireworks legislation that to be quite honest with you, we felt didn't go a long enough of a way to accomplish all the things we set out to try to accomplish from the industry. And it was kind of a piecemeal addressing some of the situations we felt needed to be addressed. So what were our objectives? Well, first and foremost, I think we all in the industry, in spirit of 76, we believe that fireworks legislation and regulations have to focus around safety. So we always have to have legislation that I like to call smart legislation that thinks about the safety and thinks about how do we do this industry a little bit safer than yesterday, so that we can continue to have and support and have this industry growing throughout the next 25, 30, 150 years, whatever it is. So we wanted to be cognizant of some of the issues that the state fire marshal was raising that they saw in their day-to-day operations. And so we wanted to make sure that we gave them enough of clear understanding and clear language that they could go out and really take care of the people that are doing things right. So that was really important. I think I've hit on it a couple of times is clear and unambiguous language. The previous statute was at times difficult to follow, difficult to understand. What do I need to do to make sure I'm fully in compliance with this statute? And we wanted to make sure that in this process that we were able to look at the law and have a better understanding is what do we need to do to comply with it? What do our customers need to do to comply with it? How do we know that at the end of the day, what we're doing is the correct version, so there's no misinterpretation of what we're doing, and make sure that we're doing it right. And then I think the other thing that I talked about previously is modernization, right? I mean, my gosh, the fireworks industry has changed so much since 1985. We have devices, we have different techniques, we have a whole different line of fireworks that probably weren't there in 1985 that are there now. And so what we felt we needed to do is we needed to really address that and make our law the kind of the framework for future laws for other states to comply with. Say, hey, we looked at these issues. These are the way we chose to address them. Instead of a framework that whenever we all look at these issues, we'll be kind of on a unified front going forward. And then I think finally, the one thing I would say is we are in Missouri, so we wanted to protect Missouri businesses. We wanted to make sure that everybody out there that's doing fireworks, whether it's display fireworks, display companies, whether it's consumer fireworks retailers are out there selling fireworks, that we really provided a mechanism so that we could really protect their business and give them a future in this business, and make sure that anything that we did was really smart, in the sense that knowing that if we didn't do anything, that potentially something else might come down the line that we're not happy with. So I think there's a kind of a general overview of our objectives here. Peter, do you have anything to add on that? I know you and I worked closely at the very beginning of this to kind of talk about what we thought was going to be good for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of this was tackling a lot of the definitions, like you mentioned. Something we ran into in the last few years here, certainly articles, pyrotechnic and professional use only fireworks have been a big hot topic for several years. When we saw the introduction of the UN 0336 professional use only category, created a situation where a UN shipping category, which was cited many, many times in the regulations and the statutes in the state of Missouri, was suddenly tied to a whole new type of product, right? So how do you create a set of rules where everybody understands that just because the thing is a shipping designation doesn't mean it's a use designation, doesn't mean it's necessarily a safe use or sales or distribution designation, if you will, in the state of Missouri. So part of what we tried to do here is decoupling those shipping classifications and designations from the actual products and the hazards that they may or may not have associated with them. So that's an important step forward, because what we realized is there's many regulations out there from many regulating authorities that have to do with different steps of the process, all the way from manufacturing to the use of the product. And if any of those regulations change or get updated, it's very easy for a document to go out of sync with old information that's no longer relevant. And now it doesn't take much time before you're dealing with a document that's no longer properly identifying certain products. So that was a huge objective. It was like, how do we create a definition system that allows this the state of Missouri to kind of keep up with the times and be able to adapt to some of these products. The other big thing I wanted to highlight here is that while Spirit of 76 did spearhead what ultimately became the bill, this was very much a collaboration with many companies in the state of Missouri, as well as the state fire marshal's office. As Walker mentioned, this is a over 3-year long process. This does not happen quickly. A lot of players come to the table. All those players have information and concerns that they want to bring to that table, and certainly we took that into account and went through that process, right? So what's great is in the state of Missouri here, the fire marshal's office enabled us to be able to do that. The other businesses enable us to be able to do that, and our local government here enables us to be able to do that and bring our concerns to the table as an industry, not just as a single company or a single segment of an industry, but as an industry as a whole. So we're pretty happy with what we were able to accomplish here. Bringing so many people to the table and really getting all of their information and opinions and drafting it into a document that works for most people. Now, this is legislation, right? There are many, many, many people that will be affected by this that all have their own way of doing things. There's no such thing as a piece of legislation that perfectly fits into everyone's system. But this is one that really took all the voices into account and tried to come up with the best and most reasonable solution for everybody to have a bright future with fireworks in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, and just one thing to kind of reiterate what Peter said and give an example, right? If you were operating in Missouri under the existing law or the previous law, there was a statute that said that anything that was in your tent had to be 1.4 G or you couldn't sell it. So the 1.4 G is a shipping designation that goes along with the group or the risk factor for that firework. It didn't define what it was. It didn't define whether it was a consumer firework or not. It was just a shipping designation. So we were able to, like I mentioned, get rid of all those designations. So we avoid a situation that we faced in Missouri over the past several years where, you might have a consumer firework that's vetted by the CPSC as a consumer firework that was a 1.4S. And the law said only 1.4 G. So the fire marshal's hands were kind of tied. Everybody else was kind of tied. It's like, well, it doesn't say 1.4 G, so you can't sell it in Missouri. Well, that's gone, right? Yep. So I think that's a very small thing to look at, but we're removing those shipping designations. It's a big step because the industry as a whole, we've always struggled with that. 1.4 G is consumer. Well, that's not necessarily true. 1.4S is articles pyrotechnic. Well, that's not true. So getting rid of that is a big step in the positive direction. I think that everybody that does business in the state of Missouri can certainly hang their hat on.
Yeah, the innovation in the fireworks business is what drives us forward, and it's great. We want that. We want people to come up with new devices and new ways of doing things. But it's difficult to do when your new way of doing something doesn't necessarily fit into a shipping designation, not even a use case, not a safety management case, but just a shipping designation, and that kills it for right off the bat, right? So by doing it this way, it should make it a little bit more open, a little bit more adaptable, and allows for the number one fireworks state in the country to really drive an innovation by not being tied to shipping designations that don't necessarily have anything to do with the performance of a device.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I guess I'd follow up on, and we haven't really touched base on, is articles pyrotechnic. We've kind of hit on them a little bit, but I think we could probably get into that a little bit here, and Peter join in as appropriate here. But for whatever reason, the laws, not only in Missouri but in other states, were kind of created prior to this whole article pyrotechnic push, right? And so, in fact, under the law that was just changed in Missouri, they called them proximate fireworks, and we really struggled with that definition because we didn't think it properly identified what everybody in the industry now describes as articles pyrotechnic. So we felt that the close proximity firework might be an articles pyrotechnic. It might not be an articles pyrotechnic. It might be a consumer firework, depending on how you shoot it in relation to your office and an audience in a public display. So I think we kind of took the catalyst and the lead in addressing a hot topic in the industry to say, what is an article pyrotechnic? Who, what kind of training do you have to have in order to be able to use that? Because it's not a consumer firework. It's not made for the general public. It's made for somebody that has the right training in order to utilize that product. So I know that I think some of the industry might think that we were pushing back on the way that things have done in the past, but I think Peter and I in the industry as a whole has realized that we were kind of on the edge of a cliff with regards to pyrotechnic. From the federal level down to the state level, the writing on the wall is that you guys better self-regulate yourself, or we're going to regulate for you. So I think we took the lead on that. And Peter, I'll let you kind of add your two pieces on that. But
yeah, certainly, there was a very hot topic for several years, and I think it's still an ongoing topic. The UN 0336 professional use only designation created a lot of confusion because UN 0336 was always known as the Consumer Fireworks 1.4 designation, right? So suddenly you got all these regulations that have that terminology written into them in a lot of different states. And so a 1.4 UN 0336 product comes along and it's not a consumer firework. That could create a dangerous situation where people are selling consumer fireworks or not consumer fireworks in a retail location to consumers that have never been vetted by CPSC. We're not designed to be sold directly to consumers. Also created a reverse dangerous situation in that in the state of Missouri, we considered UN 0431 devices, the articles pyrotechnic category, as proximate. So that would indicate, okay, if I have a UN 0431, 2-inch cake that's firing large inserts with paper inserts and stuff in them, under that rule, that would indicate maybe that's a proximate device. That's absolutely not a proximate device. It shouldn't be used close to folks because it's not designed for that kind of a use. So again, by decoupling from those shipping designations, we were able to solve a lot of problems in that it's, okay, this no longer automatically flags all of these items as, okay, they're good for consumer use, and this no longer flags all of these items as they're okay for proximate use. And it really makes us take the next step and realize, okay, so what is really a consumer firework? It's a firework that's built to these certain standards that have these certain safety mechanisms built in to make them user-friendly for consumers. Things like clear instructions and fuse burn times and stability testing that make sure the product doesn't fall over. And then what's an articles pyrotechnic product? Well, that product isn't subject to any of those things, right? Which means you need some additional knowledge in order to be safely handle that product. So, we were heading towards a cliff, like Walker mentioned, where we were at risk of maybe losing access to a lot of these things. There were considerations being thrown around from several regulating authorities on the federal level and on the state level of potentially saying, should articles pyrotechnic or professional use only 1.4 products just be lumped in with 1.3 display products? Should we require ATF licensing? Should we require major changes, storage requirements, all that kind of stuff? We realized that was a line that we did not want to cross. For our industry here in Missouri and the display company industry, this 1.4 articles pyrotechnic category is extremely useful, and it doesn't provide enough hazard to be considered, a display firework. So it was like, how do we navigate this very carefully so that we're able to protect this resource here? We're able to enable folks to do things even more safely, and we're able to enable the authorities having jurisdiction in their localities to really understand this product a little bit more deeply and really go in there and be able to understand what they're looking at, understand the hazards associated with it, and provide a safer environment for everybody involved in fireworks displays.
Yeah, and I would add just to that is the and nothing to throw any kind of shade here, but the state fire marshal, Missouri State's fire marshal position has always been is that articles pyrotechnic or 1.4G professional use only products do require that you have an operator's license in the state of Missouri. They've taken that position from day one since we've been working with them. So part of our goal here was as well, if that's the position, and I think they had some backing under the way the law was written, then how do we make sure that we have the clear mechanism for people that want to specialize and get their license, that they could do so without having to go out and get an ATF permit if they're only going to be shooting 1.4 articles pyrotechnic, not any of the big display fireworks. How do we set that up so that it's very clear that a person wanting to acquire that product, very clear the steps they need to take in order to do so, right? The other thing that we wanted is we want to make it very, very clear as far as what steps we had to do to make sure we had the legal ability to sell those fireworks to that individual. So I don't think we're changing anything than the way that it has been applied. I just think that what we've done is we just refined it so that it's just super, super clear what you need to do in order to do articles pyrotechnic, as an example.
Yeah, and there's a giant community of pyros out there that aren't necessarily in commerce. They're not doing shows for profit or anything like that. They're doing this because they love fireworks. It's their hobby, and that's where the 76 Pro line was launched, right? It's exactly for those people. And I don't want anybody to feel like we forgot about those folks or we're ignoring those folks in this case. It's absolutely not the case. The State Fire Marshal's office basically took a look at these new product designations and said, okay, this is called for professional use only products, right? Or articles pyrotechnic for technical use. We have a license that designates someone what we deem a professional. Why would these products not be included in that licensure, right? And it was difficult for us to say, well, yes, these are professional use only, but you can't require people to have the license that you ask for to have for it. It wasn't a case that we were able to bring to them, and it wasn't a logical one, and I agree. So in this case, the state of Missouri already had a licensing program established, right? And they were interpreting that, hey, these products now fall under this licensing program. Well, we went in and made it really clear and said, okay, fine. If you want it under this licensing program, we'll include it here, but we'll make it very clear as to what those requirements are. And this is a big win in the things that are unwritten in the bill. There are things that are written there that clarify stuff, but it also could have gone a lot further. It could have been, everybody's required to have a license in order to handle fireworks of any kind or whatever the case may be. I mean, a lot of different things were thrown on the table, and we worked very diligently to make sure that we weren't getting too far across the cliff here. So the other big thing that we accomplished with this bill was decoupling licensing and permitting. Getting a license to do something means you have some qualifications. In the state of Missouri, that means you went through their process to get licensed, which is having some training, going through and working on some displays under the supervision of other licensed individuals, going in and taking an exam, and then being licensed to display pyrotechnics. A permit means you've got a location, you've got a date, and you're looking to solidify and get permission to shoot a show that day as a licensed individual. Permits are usually where insurance requirements come in. That's where your local fire marshal or your state fire marshal will say, okay, if you're going to do a permitted display, you need to show some kind of proof of insurance or financial responsibility. That was one where if you're a backyard hobbyist pyro, that basically shuts you down, right? So we wanted to make sure that we put in some provisions in here that protected that. Said, hey, I'm a licensed individual. I know how to handle this product safely. I've gone through the process you've asked me to do. I'm a professional using professional use only products. However, I'm not in commerce. I'm not doing a show here for any kind of financial gain or anything. I'm just a fan of these types of products. So I don't want to be subject to this permit process where I have to show proof of insurance. And I think that's something that we've been able to do really well here. So, it's not all the things that are wins are necessarily written in words, and not all the things that are enhancements are necessarily in the bill. It's what's on there and what's not on there that really comes together to make this a big win for us.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads to one point of clarification I think that we probably need to make. Whenever you read the Senate Bill 81, first of all, those things are sometimes tough to read because they strike through or they shade what's taken out and they underline what's added. But under the existing law, with regards to display fireworks and articles pyrotechnic, they combined the possession, selling, and shipping and all that with permitting. So they were tied together. You had to get a permit in order to be able to possess. And so what we did is we changed that, right? Where we have one section that deals with with the who could buy, who could sell, who could possess display fireworks and artist pyrotechnic. And then we basically copied the law that was previous there and put it into a brand new section that dealt with permitting. So that law has been there. We just moved it to a different standalone section of the statute so that one is dealing with only with permitting of displays. The other thing I think to kind of reiterate what Peter said is that we were able to kind of add a new category of display, what is called a private outdoor not-for-profit display. And just without beating it too far into the ground, essentially what Peter said is right now in the state of Missouri, anytime that you shoot a fireworks display, you're supposed to be permitted. That's the law. That's always been the law. So what we did is we added a new section that essentially said if you're going to be doing a private outdoor fireworks display for a non-commercial purpose, then you don't have to jump through those permitting steps that you would normally have to do if you were doing something in commerce. And essentially, you just got to comply with your local jurisdiction with regards to what rules they have about that, and you have to comply with NFPA whenever you're NFPA 1126, 1123, as far as this is how you set up and do a display. So that was a big win, right, for those backyard pyrotechnicians out there that are in this for the joy of it. Have that in the statute. That's huge, right? That's a big win for everybody who just loves pyrotechnics and likes to go out there and get the right training and to shoot these shows for their families and friends. Before we get able to include that, the rule is that if you're going to do that, you really need to have a permit.
That's right. And Missouri celebrates. We have a great fireworks tradition here in the state of Missouri. I think we have a great tradition of celebrating freedom here in the state of Missouri. And that means, hey, I'm doing something on my own private property for my own private, event. I shouldn't have to be subject to these permit requirements, right? So that was a big win. That is exactly for those folks that really enjoy this, are willing to go out and get the training and get the licensure required, but aren't ever going to be doing this commercially and aren't going to have financial liabilities the way that a display company might. So I think that's a really big win for us. We equated over these couple of years while we were working on this process. It was like, okay, where do other systems like this exist? Ultimately, we equated it much to your driver's license system. In order to legally drive a vehicle anywhere in the United States, certainly in the state of Missouri, you have to have a driver's license, right? You have to go in and tell the state, hey, I am a competent individual who understands how to drive this vehicle. Well, in this case, you do that with professional use only or articles pyrotechnic products. You go, I am a competent individual that knows how to handle these items. Now, every time you get on the road, you don't have to get a permit or specific permission from the state to drive on that road, right? You said, yeah, I have a license. I know how to do this. In this case, we've done the same thing for those that want to just enjoy fireworks in their backyard for their friends and family. Say, hey, I know how to do this. I'm just going to be shooting these fireworks for myself here. I'm not putting any member of the public or anything at risk. Therefore, I don't want to be subject to these permit requirements. So I think we've lined it up nicely with systems of licensure and permitting that make sense. And we hope that people see that, and we really hope that we see some, even more fireworks celebrations in the state of Missouri.
And so once again, I think that goes back to our whole safety. This is a safety issue too, right? This is like, in order to protect this industry and protect what we all love to do on the 4th of July and throughout other times of the year, we've got to have some mechanism to create a safe environment. And I think we're able to accomplish kind of the best of both worlds with this, is like creating the incentive to be safe and to get licensed and to get the proper training, with the fact that there are truly people out there that just enjoy fireworks for the fireworks themselves. And so we create that avenue and mechanism for them to do so without maybe the more higher scrutiny that you're going to get if you're doing this for a living.
Yeah, and this bill, SB 81, will take full effect August 28th, 2025. And this is, you guys have talked about it multiple times throughout this, but it's a fluid situation. So there's more to come. Can you guys kind of divulge into what the next steps are again, so that people can kind of know what that is?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the statute will go live So on August, the end of August of 2025, this will become the new law in the state of Missouri. With that, that's going to kind of, I guess, invalidate a lot of the current regulations that we have. So the next step is that we're going to have to sit down and hopefully work with the state fire marshal office to take this smart legislation and now make smart regulations to go along with it. So, we're committed to Spirit of 76 to being part of that discussion. We're committed to working with other people in the industry to have that discussion with the state fire marshal's office. So we're excited about that, but that's going to be, probably a process that's going to take, I would guess, probably 4 months to 6 months following the 4th of July in order to get those in place.
Hey, Peter, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody understands that if we are requiring licensing to acquire certain types of devices or products here in the state of Missouri, we certainly want to make that ability to get that licensing a reasonable process. So that's going to be our next big push here, is working with the fire marshal's office to make sure that for those that are interested in articles pyrotechnic or professional use only devices that are 1.4, they have the means to very easily be able to find the information they need, go through the steps, go through the process to get properly trained, go through the testing process in order to get licensed, and not be met with unreasonable roadblocks. So that's the part where we can work with the fire marshal's office on really helping build systems that can do that. And that's what we're looking forward to next, is making sure that we have the systems in place to back up what these new regulations and legislation says.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody out there to give us your comments, right? Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know, what you'd like to see in a regulation, because we certainly don't think that we're the only brains in the room, and we want to learn from you guys to make sure that what we're doing here is going to fit your needs. And if our priority is safety, I think going into this, we're going to be able to create a safe, smooth, and efficient system. And I know the state fire marshal's committed to that too, of modernizing their processes so that it's going to be a little bit less restrictive, a little bit easier, a little more efficient for you to go out and acquire those licenses. I know in speaking with our display companies, they're excited about the Missouri process because they're going to have people that are going to be licensed shooters. So they're going to be excited that we're adding to the pool of these people that are going to be out there to help them with their shows. So it's a kind of a double win for those hobbyist enthusiasts who love fireworks. Is there's probably going to be an opportunity for you to do some of these bigger shows now. So all in all, I know that what's old saying is you can't make everybody happy all the time. So we certainly are open to hearing your feedback and to hearing what you would like to see from us moving forward as we enter into this next round of processing the statute and creating the regulations around it.
While we're here, Walker, can you run down a list of not associated with the whole articles pyrotechnic thing, some of the wins that we've kind of walked away from in this legislation?
So yeah. I mean, once again, I think it's a clear law, right? I think that we talked about a little bit, but removing that UN DOT classification definition to a firework type, that was a huge win. I think a lot of states still do that, and to me, it adds confusion because of the fact that we don't really have any control over how they designate that particular device. From the consumer fireworks world, it's like our ultimate barrier of entry is the CPSC. So getting rid of that definition and let us focus on what the CPSC says consumer fireworks is huge. I also think that through this process, I've been very proud of our industry. I think we had a lot of people from different business models, from different operations, from retailers to distributors to retailers and distributors to professional display companies, really come together and really look at what we were trying to do and really help us get this to the next phase. So I thought it was just really a good effort from everybody in the industry to get together and talk and work through the hard issues and address them up front. So I think that was a big win because as an industry, we're stronger together than we are apart. So I think those are the major things, Peter. I just think it's also we hit on it before. Missouri, Missourians buy more fireworks per capita than any other state in the nation. So that means people in Missouri as a whole buy more fireworks based upon their population than anywhere else in the nation. Missouri is the home of several of the largest importers and distributors in the nation, right here in Missouri. We also got display companies. We've got a robust retail industry. Whenever, I was in St. Louis, driving to St. Louis yesterday, it was exciting. The tents are up, right? Robust industry in Missouri. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to really, and I think we accomplished that there, is we really wanted to take that and say, yeah, Missouri, we are the leader and we should be the leader. And let us lead, because we love our fireworks and we want to make sure that everybody's successful in their fireworks operations. So that's all I got.
Well, I think that we gave them a lot of info. Oh, Peter, you have something else to say?
I was just going to say one last big win. Missouri does buy more fireworks per capita than any other state. Missourians are the proudest consumers of fireworks in the United States. And now officially, for those that have year-round brick and mortar stores in the state of Missouri, used to be you technically had to be from out of state to buy outside of the purchasing windows. Starting next week here in June through the 4th, you had to be from out of state in order to buy from a brick and mortar outside of that purchasing window. Now year-round sales to Missourians, so they can boost that number up per capita even more, are allowable out of all brick and mortar stores. No more going in there and pretending you sign a form that says you're from out of state and all that good stuff. So big win for us. I mean, it's stuff like that, those little things that they really do add up, and they really do help us out in the future.
Well, I just want to thank you guys. This is so informative. I think people are going to be really happy to watch this and get some clarity on the SB 81 bill. So thank you, John. Thank you, Peter, Sam, for all getting together to do this today. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. We'll be sure to get any info and write you back and make sure that we keep you up to date on this. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you guys again for all of your insights. So eye-opening.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you guys all so much.